When did you come to the States?
In 1991,
Yeah.
my parents brought my sister and I and grandma over to the United States. We came from Moscow, Russia. We came as asylum seekers, technically, because we're Jewish nominally, like just genetically. And at that point in the late 80s, early 90s, it was like okay to just go beat Jewish people up in the street. Because, when shit goes bad, you blame the Jews, which, I feel that it's just kind of a repeating thing. So President George Herbert Walker Bush decided to approve asylum seeker grants from Russia to the United States. And so we got in and we showed up and we ran away. I was very, very clear about that. We ran away from communism. Most of our jewelry was taken from us at the airport by just airport workers that were like, this is ours now.
Mhm.
And they tore up our Soviet Union passports. So people ask every now and again, have you been back to Russia? No. There was a time a few years back where I was considering going for a jiu-jitsu competition with a friend of mine. But then I realized that Russia is one of the only countries in the world in which you don't just need an entry visa, you need an exit visa.
Mm.
Like, can you imagine almost getting on a plane in America? Let's say you're flying from Seattle to like Singapore.
Yeah.
Is the American government ever going to be like, hey, why are you leaving? No, they don't give a fuck. See you later. See you never.
Mhm.
And Russia has to approve that you are allowed to leave. And if you don't get approved, you stay against your will. And I'm military age male, Russian Jew, clearly to Russians, because my name is fucking says it all.
Mhm.
Born in Russia, and they can tell because it's on my American passport, birthplace Moscow, Russia. US passport, that all looks fucking wrong. It looks really bad. And if they Google me, they realize I probably have some money, and then it all goes downhill. And that's the kind of situation people have been in where it's like, oh, hey, there's a problem with your passport, but it's nothing $2,000 US cash can't solve right now.
Mhm.
I'm just fucking not interested in going to places like that. Anywhere where there's a high enough degree of corruption that it could affect me personally, fuck that.
Yeah.
So, until Putin dies a fucking timely death here pretty fucking soon, hopefully, I'm not going back. But anyway, that's the story. So we came to America. The first thing I realized about America is everyone's like really friendly and really happy, which never saw many people smiling before.
Mhm.
And we were never let down a single time that we were in America. It's just been all like fucking roses ever since. Like all of us in my family have like met and exceeded all of our dreams. My dad so much liked Bush, and sorry to steer political.
Mhm. That's fine.
So much like Bush that he also read a book by Donald Trump that Donald Trump had published back in the 80s. And he's such a big Trump fan that my dad may be like the single greatest United States patriot that I know. He would gladly kill for the United States of America with glee.
Mhm.
And he's the biggest Trump supporter that maybe they could ever be.
Mhm.
I just think that's funny. My politics align. I just straight up say I'm libertarian. So
Mhm.
it's the freedom is sweet.
Yeah.
But like, it's just interesting, like coming from America, you would think like, oh, like the immigrants, they still have some love for like, there's none of that shit. Like my family's like psychotic patriots at worst. And at best, just people who love America for what
Yeah.
it is.
So how old were you at the time?
7.
7.
Yeah. I remember I knew like to say like 3 things. And one of them was, I don't understand English. And I
Mhm.
got off of the bus to go to summer camp, Jewish community
Mhm.
center. It was so enriching. But in any case, I got off the bus and this counselor comes up to me. She's like fucking 16, but I'm 7. And she's probably saying like, hey, like, what's your name and where do I put you? And I literally responded to her, I don't understand English. And then what she said back was the effect to me of, because she kept in English. I remember this was like my first sense of internal sarcasm where the only thing I thought after that was, bitch, I just told you I don't speak English. Can you at least point?
Yeah.
I had nothing left. So I was like, oh, and she's like, just go that way.
Mhm.
And everything was great. I learned English within like 3 or 4 months.
Mhm.
And then a year later, I didn't even have an accent. So now I'm like the ultimate fucking Russian spy.
Oh, it could
So
be.
I'm pretty fucking
How do we know any different, right?
How could we ever?
We don't.
Maybe I
Actually, we
actually
do.
assassinate Dave Tate. Who
Well,
knows?
I think you have better targets than me. But
I didn't say it. You said it.
so when did you find training then?
Mhm.
When did that come into your life?
Yeah.
As a teenager, how did that come to be?
So I was trying to hang out with a friend of mine who's still my best friend. And we went to the same middle school and we went to freshman year of high school together in Michigan, Oak Park, Michigan,
Mhm.
Berkeley, Michigan.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey man, do you want to hang out after school today? And he's like, I'm actually going to go try out for wrestling. And I was like, can I come along? It's one of those fucking weird life decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So much happened after that. I can't tell what part of that was inevitable because of the wrestling or what part of that I would have come into anyway. But I went to wrestling and I ended up staying in wrestling for all of high school. He just did like 2 years and then he was out. And it was in wrestling that I discovered that the human body is a system that is either capable of generating lots of good things, power, strength, endurance, or not so good things. And I just happened to be a late bloomer, puberty-wise, something I tried to make up for later with excessive masturbation, I might add.
That seems to be a common theme.
It's strange times. So I just wasn't super strong or super jacked. And after a season of wrestling, and that's obviously illustrated to you, like you look around and everyone's a little like teenager jacked. We were like, why the fuck do you have little abs, motherfucker? You're 15 years old. And I was the kind of 15 that I was like Harry Potter, but like after the Christmas holidays, like a little pooch, little kid titties, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah.
Just a fucking little kid. And in wrestling, it became apparent to me that like how physical I was a big deal. And I just did not have a body for sport. And at the end of wrestling, I lost some fat, I gained a little bit of muscle. But then I noticed that people who were fucking jacked, I think it's just were better at everything. And also I wanted to look like that. So I was like, I'm going to go lift weights. I started lifting weights to explicitly with the goal of getting stronger for wrestling. The summer after my freshman year, or really the spring, because as soon as wrestling ended, spring of freshman year, I was fucking in the weight room. And I did that. And at first my goal was to just get stronger for wrestling. And I fucking hated lifting weights. I hated it. Weird. But like, I hung in there because I was like mission oriented. Yeah. After 1 year of lifting weights, I loved lifting weights more than wrestling. After multiple years of lifting weights, I knew it was going to be the rest of my life. Something I did. It grew on me in like a really, really crazy way. So eventually I finished all 4 years of wrestling, but every year, and this is not something I'm proud of at all, so I was a different person back then. If I had to redo high school, I would wrestle 365 with active rest breaks here and there, but I would be going to D1 everything. Cause like, that's my mentality now. If I'm going to do something, you fucking do it right. I get less interested in wrestling every single year of high school, even though I finished. And then as soon as I was done with the last year of wrestling, I had another chance encounter with a gentleman in the Jewish Community Center of Metro Detroit, of course, who was a former powerlifting guy. And he had won some things. And he watched me bench press, and I was like 140 to 160, and I was benching 225 for reps, which is like pretty fucking good for high school. And he saw me in the Jewish Community Center, and he was like, you could be good. And I was like, I know who you are. I've heard about you. Much respect. And he's like, no worries. Do you want me to teach you how to bench press? And I was like, yes. And the first time I learned how to arch and retract, I was like, this is dumb. I'm weaker. And then 4 sessions into arching and retracting, I was lifting numbers I couldn't even conceive of before, because clearly that's fucking better. And then the powerlifting bug bit. And I was like, oh, wow. I started looking up records. I started looking up techniques. And then in college, I was just powerlifting and into that whole world. And at the end of that powerlifting journey, roughly, is when I met you for the first time, after looking at many, many pictures of you, of course, in the privacy of my own.
Well, hopefully without the masturbation, I hope. Otherwise it's going to be really weird.
I mean, I would look at the picture and memorize what you look like. I mean, you know what this is? Let's just get
I was fat and bloated. So that makes this even way kind of more weird.
People like what they like.
Remember the bears, or the powerlifting bears? The big bloated, like Chad Ikes was the powerlifting bears, like I believe they were the gay powerlifting community, right? And they liked the big furry big dudes like Chad Ikes and stuff like that.
Dave, when you say, do I remember, these people are still around.
They're still around.
More in force than ever before. I know them. Oh, they're out there. Yes. 100%. Yeah. You're doing just.
I'm a little disconnected.
Unbelievable. Yeah. They're still around. Yeah. 100%.
Did the weight training or the training because you were wrestling before, did it change your win-loss record? Did you become a better wrestler?
So unfortunately, I got less and less invested in wrestling for a few other reasons, sort of outside the scope. But my ability with whatever technique I knew to make the match go my way was like exponentially increased. I mean, if you're just fucking jacked and you're a sophomore wrestler, you just win 50% of your matches automatically just because you're fucking stronger. So when I know of people who wrestle but don't take weight training seriously, to me, it's like a truly deep admission of the fact that you don't understand the whole picture. It's like somebody in the modern day who is trying to be the best formula car driver, but doesn't do like simulator work. It's like, but you can get 10 times more sessions on a simulator than you ever would in a test track. And you'd be like, I'm old school. Like, no, that's fucking wrong. It's like training to be a pilot without going to the simulator. Like, it's not that. So when you're a wrestler, you have to ask yourself, so what is your objective mission? It is to impose my will against the other person, to get them to do what I want. But more specifically is to physically move parts of their body into other locations that they don't want to be. It's a force vector problem. It's very complex, but at the end of the day, if you can magnify the thickness of your force vector and just push through, whatever technique you have, you can amplify like crazy. Like, if you're wrestling and you get an ankle pick just behind their ankle slightly, if they push out of it, you'll lose it. But if you have super fucking strong grip, strong biceps, strong lats, you go like this, you get the takedown. So whatever level of skill you have, if you're a combat sport athlete at all, the question of how much stronger should I be, the only realistic limits to that answer is if your strength training is degrading your ability to recover or to train more for technique wrestling, those are the only two excuses you have for not spending all of your time. So fill up all of your wrestling time with as much wrestling technique as you can. The rest of your time with rest and relaxation, whatever you have free, should be spending getting gnarly, uncomfortably strong, because then you pose a serious fucking problem for everyone that you compete against.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities between your story and my own, where I was wrestling from 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grade. And somewhere in that mix, I found the weight room, But first there was like the universal machine, the coaches are just running you through, and I didn't give a shit,
Sure.
Just one set. And I realized then, I'm stronger than everybody else, but it was just kind of what you did. And I would just get beat all the time. I was a fish, right? I mean, that's what they called it. And then there was right around 12, 13, my father put me into a powerlifting club, and then just training there, I got stronger. Then all of a sudden I didn't get beat anymore. Just my skills were the same, maybe a little better, because I love the training. I love the mental aspect, the work hard ethic that wrestling has. And at the same time, I was playing football. So as I matured and got bigger through high school, going from 10th to 11th grade, there became this drama between coaches, myself, my parents. Like, I wanted to wrestle, but I didn't want to be a super heavyweight, right? Because it was gross, because it was a class under where I can't remember at the
250.
time. No, it was lower than that. We didn't have that at the time. So it was
189.
Yeah, something around there. And it was like, I'm 205, 215, 220. And they wanted me to play football, right? So there was that push, like, no, I want to play football, 5'10".
Okay.
And so there was a poll where I wanted to wrestle because I liked the individual aspect of that. What I do is my reward. I don't have to worry about what everybody else is doing. If they work hard, don't work hard. And then I had the powerlifting thing, which, like yourself, I like better than all of it. So it's like, whatever it is, doesn't matter as long as I have this as that first priority. And then pressure, whatever you want to say, I left wrestling and went to football and did fine there, all state, second state, whatever it was. Awesome. Still not tall enough or didn't have the grades, to do anything with it, which was fine. But I do kind of regret not staying with the wrestling, because I love that work ethic. But it also, in hindsight, it allowed me to move up to 220 and start competing in powerlifting in 220, back then, in high school, instead of having to stay under 200.
Sure.
Because I still wasn't going to be the suit. I had to practice with them. But it's not the same sport when you're 189 or whatever it is, wrestling in that class and then wrestling unlimited.
It's just different strategy.
It's totally different. But my strength was what took me from being a fish to basically just hog tossing people around. I only knew a handful of moves, but I knew them real well.
Sure.
But I also knew if I stayed there, I was going to have to continue going to the college, which Finley College was down the street. That's who I was practicing with. So I always try to practice above my skill level.
For wrestling.
Yes, because I wanted to get my ass kicked. That way I could kick ass on the other people.
How young were you when you put that together, that getting
14,
is good?
15.
That's really mature. That's really, most people for a long time just want to win at stuff. And that some people never come around to the idea that if I'm losing a lot, that's probably the best thing I could be doing.
Yeah. So the parallel is interesting, right? Because it's, as we were talking a little bit before, that's also the same time when, I really started to dig into this training stuff.
Sure.
You know, when you go to college, what do you want to do? I'm like, I just want to be a strength coach. Oh, you can't. What's that? I mean, back then they didn't even know what it was.
Sure.
I think there was Buddy Morris, and I'm forgetting the person that was before. They're like two strength coaches that were even around.
Yeah.
You know, the first one was, the name skips my mind right now, and I feel terrible not knowing. And like the personal trainers were just celebrity trainers.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's like, what are you talking about? No, you need a business degree. You need this, you need this, you need this. So I farted around in college for a while, you know, with shitty grades and not giving a shit about what it was. And then after a while, I realized, you know what, fuck all them. You know, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to get the degree in exercise science, and it was individual studies, right? So because they didn't have it at the time. So it was exercise science and nutrition.
Yeah.
Because I figured that's what I need for a coach. I need to know how to public speak. I need to know how to communicate. I need, you know, a degree. I need this. All I want to do is coach people. And then, you know, all I can say now looking back is fuck all those people that said I couldn't do anything with training.
You know, that's a curious thing. I think some people are coming, maybe most are coming from a good place where if they can't, most people just want you to be successful.
Yeah.
Most people also don't want you to take insane risks to try to get really successful. They don't want to see you fail. That's heartbreaking. So I think if you tell most people your idea about what you want to do, I think a lot of people will try to like almost securitize that idea in the sense of like, what I know about it, is it reasonable that you can expect some success? So when you say, I want to be a strength coach, and they just fuck all, no idea what that is. I think a lot of people are like, well, why don't you go into something normal like business? Like, okay, I understand that's always an option, but I think, you know, especially with the way our economy is always expanding, especially in a free country like America, you can kind of do almost anything you want as long as you're relatively intelligent and diligent about it and you care about problem solving. You're probably going to be pretty successful and have food. But like our parents probably came from a different world in which like, shut the fuck up and get a real job.
Yeah.
And then you can, if you have a fucking castle in your free time, you can fuck around with your bullshit hobbies, but first provide in some kind of normal job. Yeah. And I think it's scary when like kids will say like, hey, can you imagine like, I don't have kids, maybe someday in the future, but if my kid was like, I want to be a VR TikToker when I grow up. What the fuck is that? God damn it, get a real job, be a farmer. But in the reality is like, TikTokers make like $15 million a year. Yeah. I don't give a fuck. Yeah. If you're competent at it, great.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. At what point did you realize that, you know, that you wanted to make a profession out of this? I mean, so I'm not a person that's going to sit here and degrade an exercise science degree. I think people that do that,
can.
Well, I know, and I see both sides of the whole thing, right? But it does provide a bullshit detector for most people. Right. And because there's a lot of bullshit, you know, there's a ton of it. And there's a lot of stuff that even for somebody that's relatively intelligent is hard to navigate, you know, so at least, I mean, it provides that. Now there is most of the people that I see that really go hard against that are also the people that have probably never sat in any type of exercise science or biomechanics, you know, at all.
You know, there's a couple different places you can end up with after really investing yourself or not in an exercise science degree. One place is just the extreme is incel nerd category where you don't lift weights.
Yeah.
You have never spoken arguably to a human being in real life before, and that one time in the 4th grade, but then you shit your pants right after. You like to sit at home and you like to read studies and everyone's stupid except for you. And you went to school and you have a fucking master's degree, slow clap. You're an exercise scientist and, you know, biomechanics, you can draw these little things and you're even big on Instagram now because you don't have to, again, see people in real life. And it turns out you don't actually know anything about how to coach real world athletes to get fucking strong.
Yes.
I wouldn't go down that route. It's a bad idea.
No.
The other route is like, I got big and strong by myself and I worked at the bottling plant the entire time. And I got so big and strong that now I'm one of the world's strongest people and I'm an authority on strength. But like reading didn't come too easy to me. And I just hang out with my bottling plant buddies and being smart and looking at books and studies is fucking stupid. I would use another word back from the 90s that I'm going to get canceled for, but you know, lame, another word for lame. And it's just not something I want to get around. So I end up repeating these mantras of like, just shut the fuck up and lift, bro. Just get fucking strong. Yeah. Iron forges iron. Like, oh, I feel all of that, but like, should I do 4 reps today or 5? And like, fucking doesn't matter. Like, the Russians saying it doesn't matter, or the Chinese lifters like, man, I don't know. I think there's like a precision you can have. So I think maybe one of the better perspectives is whether or not you get a formal exercise science degree, try to do 2 things. Be fucking hardcore in the gym and explore your own ability to get strong. Be around athletes that are fucking pushing the limits so you can understand the dynamics of that from a personal level.
Yes.
The other thing you can do is just try to learn as much as you can about the science and practice of what the fuck goes on in a gym and outside the gym. Some of the people I've spoken to that know the most about training don't even have degrees in the shit. They just read a bunch of stuff online. They were fucking smart. They read the right shit. I remember talking to people at the end of my undergrad that were engineers. They weren't even in my exercise science track. And they had read elitefts before I did. They read it first. And they knew what deloading was before I did. And they knew the concept of deloading. So they would deload every 4 weeks. I would never deload. I was doing high intensity training, you know, Arthur Jones type shit. And I was just like stagnant in strength gains, and they just kept getting stronger. They got stronger than me. And I was like, what the fuck? Then I started reading shit that wasn't in my own undergrad curriculum.
Yeah.
So the way they got to that was different. But in the end, you fucking train hard, and you also respect that there's a knowledge around that. And if you want to get a lot of the knowledge, that's fucking a really good idea, no matter where you come from. So if I meet someone that has an exercise science degree, I don't automatically be like, oh, they know what they're doing in the weight room.
No, I agree with that.
Fuck
that.
They
don't, most of the time they don't know shit. I mean,
arguably they don't know anything.
Yeah. I mean, there's art and a science, right?
For sure.
So it's both.
For sure.